So if you're a med spa owner and you think that your no-show rate is a patient problem, well, I'm here to tell you that is far from the truth. A high no-show rate is not a patient character flaw. It's a structural confirmation failure, all right? And every no-show is a system telling you it is not built to hold its own appointments. So before we get into analysis, let me tell you why I'm qualified to say what I'm about to say. I spent 13 years in the beauty and medical industry. I started as a hairstylist, okay? And I worked inside these businesses, not consulting from a distance, not reading industry reports, but actually inside the day-to-day of how aesthetic businesses operate and how they communicate with clients and where things break down. What I watched over the 13 years was the same pattern, all right? Repeated in practice after practice. You had talented operators, okay? Strong demand, real revenue potential, and consistent, all right? Invisible money walking out the doors because the systems behind the business were never built to hold it. After a decade and a half inside this industry, I started doing something about it. Okay, because I was sick of it, to be honest with you. I've since helped business owners identify and recover revenue they didn't know they were losing. Not through more marketing, which a lot of, agencies or businesses will tell you to do. Oh, just do more marketing. No, we're not going to do that. Not through more hiring, okay, but through diagnosing the operational gaps that were quietly bleeding their income every single month. And that's exactly what Lux Intelligence is. Revenue operations built specifically for aesthetic businesses. All right. And not generic business consulting. Okay. We don't do those things. Not a marketing agency. All right. We are not a marketing agency, but diagnostic and implementation practice for practices like yours. So I'm not here to give you more motivation or a 5-step morning routine. Okay. But I'm here to show you the mechanisms behind why your revenue is inconsistent and what the system fix actually looks like. So with that context, okay, let's talk about the no-shows. So if you have a no-show problem, you've already told yourself one of 3 things, all right? Which is that your patients are disorganized, all right? That life gets in the way, okay? Life happens. And that some cancellations are just unavoidable, okay? Every one of these explanations is a misdiagnosis, all right? And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm just tell you why. The no-shows are not a patient problem, okay? They're not a patient problem. They are a confirmation problem. Specifically, okay, they are a signal that your confirmation system is not doing what the confirmation systems are designed to do. Okay. And that is a very huge issue. And I'm going to be honest with you. Most aesthetic businesses do not have a confirmation system. Like, it blows my mind. The confirmation system is not there. Normally they have a front desk person with a notepad and a cell phone. And if that stings, then I'm glad you're here, because I'm going to tell you step by step how you're going to fix it, right? What you're losing and how you're potentially going to fix it. So today we're going to talk about what a no-show actually costs you in real dollars, in real time, okay? Real dollars. Why the standard reminder approach fails structurally, and what a confirmation protocol actually looks like when it's built correctly. Okay. And this is not about more text, sending more text, sending more SMS. No, this is about understanding why a patient does not show up to their appointment. That huge issue. And building the architect that closes the gap before it happens again and again and again. Before we talk about the system, let's establish what we're actually dealing with. Okay. The industry standard no-show and same-day cancellation rate for med spas runs between 10 and 20%. Okay. The national average is closer to 15%. So let me show you what that means for your real business. Okay. Take a med spa doing $1 million per year in revenue. Okay. The business books roughly between 1,200 to 1,500 appointments per month, right? And at an average treatment value around $350 to $450. All right. Run that math with 15%. 1,300 appointments a month times 15% no-show rate equals 195 missed appointments a month. I'm gonna let that sink in. 195 missed appointments a month. That's 195 times $400 average treatment value. That equals to $78,000 per month in unfulfilled appointment slots. And what is that? What are you losing per year? $936,000 per year in revenue you scheduled but never collected. That's an issue. Now I'm gonna say this right now, okay? Not all of that is recoverable, right? Some cancellations happen too close to fill the spot or fill the slot, if you will, right? But even in your recover 30% of that through competent system, you're looking around $280,000. $280,000 in additional revenue from patients you already acquired. This is not a growth problem. This is a retention and confirmation problem. The reason this number stays invisible is because you never see it. You see a gap in your schedule. You don't see the revenue that should have been there. All right. The loss is structural, indeed, and it doesn't show up on a P&L line. it doesn't. Okay. It just does not appear. So I just want to pause here for a moment because what I just walked you through, that 78,000 monthly gap, is exactly what we quantify inside the revenue recovery diagnostic. The diagnostic is a 2-week deep dive into your specific business. Okay. We look at your actual numbers across 7 revenue systems, how you capture leads, how you book, how you confirm, okay, and how you follow up, which all matters, okay? It matters. And we come back to you with a report that shows you your own data, exactly where the money is going and what to fix first. So if you've been watching this and thinking, I don't actually know what my no-show rate is, that's the diagnostic telling you it needs to happen. Because you can't fix what you haven't measured. All right, so let's get back into the mechanism. So let's talk about why manual reminders fail and talk about what most practices are actually doing about this, okay? So the standard approach looks like this, all right? You have a staff member calls or texts a patient the day before, okay, maybe 2 days before if they remember. Okay, that's a big if. Sometimes there's a confirmation request in the booking software, all right? Sometimes the patient confirms, sometimes, right? And sometimes they don't, which is a headache. I get it, right? But sometimes they don't confirm. If they don't, the front desk person either follows up again or assumes they're coming. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is not a confirmation system. This is a manual effort with an inconsistent outcome. There are 3 structural reasons why this approach fails, okay? And we're going to go over them. So failure point 1, single channel dependency. All right. Most practices rely on a single reminder channel. Usually it's SMS or email, occasionally a phone call. Different patients respond to different channels. Okay, a 50-year-old patient will respond to a phone call. A 28-year-old patient responds to a text, right? Neither of them is reading your portal notification. A single channel reminder architect is not built for human behavior, all right? It's built for operational convenience. And the gap between those two things is your no-show rate. Failure point number 2. Timing without intent triggers. So the standard reminder is sent in a fixed time, right? 24 hours before, 40 hours before, either or. But a reminder without a required response is just a notification. Research on behavioral commitment is unambiguous, okay? A patient who has actively confirmed an appointment is substantially less likely to miss it than the one who received a reminder and did not respond. Okay? The act of confirming changes the psychology of the appointment. Passive notification does not. Your system should not be sending reminders. It should be requiring confirmations and treating non-response as an active signal. Failure point number 3. No escalation protocol. So here is the critical gap. And when I mean critical, I mean critical. All right. When a patient does not respond to a confirmation request, what happens? In most practices, nothing happens, to be honest with you. Not a single thing. Or a front desk person calls once, possibly, or the appointment shows up read in a system and no one touches it. In a functional confirmation system, non-response triggers an escalation sequence, okay? A different channel, a different message type, a different urgency signal. The system treats silence as a risk indicator and responds accordingly, automatically, okay, without anyone deciding to act. Manual decision making inside an escalation protocol is not an escalation protocol. It's just not, okay? It is a person deciding whether to make a phone call, and you're losing money while they over there deciding. So now we're on phase 4, which is pre-day of confirmation, okay? And it's 24 hours out. Confirmed patients receive a pre-appointment preparation message. What to bring, where to park, what to expect, right? This is not a reminder. It is an anticipation building, right? The patient's mental commitment to the appointment is being reinforced through expectation setting, all right? Unconfirmed patients at this stage trigger a final escalation, and that is a phone call from a staff member, all right? This is the only points in the protocol where human judgment enters, okay? At this stage, you are not hoping the patient shows, right? You are making a decision about whether to activate your waitlist. Every practice should have an active waitlist for high demand providers and time slots, period. Okay, when a cancellation or non-confirmation occurs beyond the recovery window, the system should automatically offer the slot to the next waitlist patient. Most practices have a waitlist in theory, right? Almost none have it automated. It sits as a list on a clipboard that a front desk person may or not call. Automated waitlist field is the difference between a cancellation being a $400 loss and a $0 loss. So let's move on to the diagnostic questions. Here's how you can assess where you actually stand, all right? There are 3 questions every aesthetic business owner should be able to answer about their confirmation system. And the first one is, what is your exact no-show and same-day cancellation rate right now? Not a guess. I don't want you to guess. The number from your booking system in the last 90 days. Check that. If you cannot pull that number in under 2 minutes, your report system is also broken. Okay? That is a separate problem. That's a whole separate problem. And it matters because you cannot diagnose what you cannot measure. Second question is, what happens automatically and without human involvement when a patient books an appointment today? Okay, walk through the sequence, the whole sequence. If your answer is the booking system sends confirmation email, that is the beginning of a system, not a system. Big difference. Third question is, what happens automatically and without human involvement when a patient does not respond to a confirmation request? All right. If your answer is, oh, someone checks or will call them, you don't have an escalation protocol. I hate to tell you. You have a person making decisions. And by doing that, you are losing tons of money. If any of these three answers are unclear, manual, or based on what a staff member decides to do, then you know where your no-show rate is coming from. So let me bring this back to the number, okay? If you are operating at a 50% no-show rate on a, let's say, $1 million revenue base, and a functional confirmation system reduces that to 5%, which is achievable and has been documented in practices that have installed the architecture we're describing, right? And the math is as follows. Let's look into it. So current state is 50% no-show rate, all right? That is 1,300 appointments a month times 15%, which is 195 missed appointments, pretty much. With confirmation protocol, 5% no-show rate, 1,300 appointments a month times 5% is 65 missed. Okay, 130 additional appointments a month recovered, right? That's 130 times $400 average value. That is $52,000 a month, equals to $624,000 in additional annual revenue without acquiring a single new patient. This is where the magic is, right here. What I just explained. $624,000 in annual revenue that your business already generated in a form of a booked appointment that currently evaporates before you ever deliver the service. That's an issue. Okay. This is why we say no-show rate is a revenue operations problem and not a patient problem. Okay. The patient does not choose not to show up. Your system failed to secure their commitment at the point when it was available to secure. Every practice that treats no-show as an inevitable cost of business is making a strategic error. And when I mean strategic, I mean with a capital S, honey. Architecture exists. I'm showing you right here. It exists. But most businesses simply have not installed it. So the takeaway from this analysis is pretty much straightforward, okay? Your no-show rate is not a reflection of your patient base. Period. I just debunked it, okay? It's a reflection of your confirmation architecture, all right? Patients do not ghost practices with a strong confirmation protocols. They ghost practices that make showing up optional. And we don't want to do that because we lose money, right? A confirmation system is not a reminder, okay? It is a commitment loop with escalation intelligence, okay? Multi-channel reach and automated decision-making that does not depend on staff member having a good day. If you cannot describe your escalation protocol in 2 sentences, then you don't have one. All right. And the difference between a practice that loses 15% of its booked revenue and the one that loses 5% is almost entirely in that protocol. So next week, we're going to talk about why adding more leads often makes your revenue problem worse. Okay. And I've seen it time after time. All right. Specifically, what happens when you scale a broken intake process instead of fixing it. So if you watch this and you're not sure what your actual no-show rate is, or if you have a number but you don't know what's causing it, that is exactly what the revenue recovery diagnostic is built to answer. Okay, in 2 weeks, in just 2 weeks, we go into your actual systems. We pull the real numbers and we hand you the report that shows you specifically where the money is going and what to fix first. I only want to work with decision makers and, go-getters and leaders and people that are actually willing to do the work and want to make their business better. So you click the link, you go through my pre-qualified questions, and you book. And if you're not ready for that, then that's fine. Okay, there's no pressure. You can simply keep watching because, listen, here's the kicker. Every video I publish is designed to help you see your business more clearly. And when you're ready to stop diagnosing it yourself, I will be here.